The recording has begun. Please turn microphone on if you wouldn't mind, please. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I wonder if we do.
You just push.
Can we tell if there's anybody
I think it's
online
fine,
listening?
fine. No, just push it a little bit, but
Yes.
push it quick.
Just curious if anybody's out there.
There it is. That's what I figured.
No online participants at this moment.
Oh, okay. A number or something, how many?
It's like initials on your circle.
Oh, yeah, okay. Is it like teams? Yeah. Okay. All right, are we ready? All right, call the meeting to order. Do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we do a roll call, please?
All right. Chair Gilpin,
Here.
Mary Beth Chandler,
Here.
Jane Hobbs,
Here.
Councilman Gutenberg,
Here.
Vice Chair Bowling.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Hey, thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do, there's been a request that we make some changes to the agenda. I'd like to do it in front of the minutes. Don, that'll give me a chance to read while I'm listening. And because I haven't been able to get them right away. And we've been asked, I think Paul has some things to do, so he's looking to go first. So we're going to move things around a little bit so he can do that. So Paul, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so just for our, let me, if I may help, Chair. So the request has been made to change the order of the agenda to for the first item of discussion. For the first item today, we'll start with there it is, 3.2, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The item 3-3.2, the former firehouse building capital improvement project CIP for fiscal year 2027.
And then 6.
And then following that, we will have the commissioner's report, the town council report 6.2. And then we'll fall back to the approval of the minutes, which is 2.1 on the agenda. So if the commission is amenable, and here, somebody needs to make a motion in a second.
Well, on motion, we make those changes for this meeting.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, you all accommodating me on that. It's very much appreciated. So on our agenda today was to do a discussion of the former firehouse, the historic firehouse building capital improvement project. And so this is really for us to follow up here in the room on what was included in the budget for FY27. So following the presentation that was made last year, leading up to budget time, and then we had several discussions about it during budget time as well. So where the council landed on the project is that the funding in the capital plan is for exterior maintenance only of the building at this time. There's not going to be any interior improvements made in that was funded in the budget for FY27. The exterior funding amount that was put there was determined by staff, and they'll execute based on any kind of exterior maintenance that they feel needs to occur to the facility. So I do want to describe, though, for this commission's understanding, what was discussed by the council during the budget debates and discussion that we had on this issue. So the primary discussion was in our large 8-hour budget day. That was the primary discussion, right? But there was some follow-up after that as well, all in public session. But really, I think as far as what the council, I believe, made a decision on, I'll categorize it this way, is that the discussion centered around the same model of using capital funding to provide a facility that would deliver a value to the community in the same way that the Dorchester Community Center model is being looked at, which is that model fundamentally is that there is a entity that from an operational perspective would do the work that delivers the value to the community, and that the town would provide the facility that work is done in, right? And so fundamentally, the way that translates to the Historic Firehouse Museum is that the town doesn't have a museum staff, right? And so the desire from the council conceptually, in the way that we talked about it that day, was that we want to partner with an organization that can deliver those services, right? That's the way it is with the Dorchester Community Center, albeit that's a much more expensive and much more complex model. But we wanted to be consistent, is the discussion that we had that day in how we do that. So that was what was talked about that day. And I think that is the way I would look at sort of the logical progression of why that decision was made from the way the council discussed it that day. But I can also, I'll give you some personal context too. So this part's my opinion, not the council's opinion. So in my opinion, part of what shaped my views on this as well is that when we're looking at capital projects, and we're looking at all the things that have to be funded, but then when you get down to the specifics of capital improvements, which are investments in infrastructure, whether they are light poles, sidewalks, building new buildings, building upgrades, all of that kind of stuff, you end up having to look at them and go, okay, which are the ones of greatest need? Which are the ones that we think have the most benefit, or at me as an individual, looking at it that way. And so when the Historic Firehouse gets into that mix, for me, it was not only the issue related to how we're going to fundamentally operate it as a town, but also that we do, in context of the Historic Firehouse Museum, we do already have a museum in that we have the train station museum. So for me, that's what made it be lower in my personal list of priorities of what would need to get funded. So yeah, so I didn't want to sit here and like put it all on the council and like be not own part of the that discussion, because I know there'll be disappointment to the ultimate outcome, right? But that doesn't mean it can't be considered and it can't be shaped, and really that's why I'm offering not only what I said about what the council discussion was, but I'm sharing with you my personal views of it as well, because I think if you consider those things as that this idea gets continued to be shaped, I would take those notes.
So. Awesome.
Sure. Okay.
So I understand the priority question.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Terms of, when you talk about the building itself, exterior only, there's another step there because when you talk about that exterior entity operating it, whoever that's going to be, and we've talked about this before, so I know what you're alluding to, and it's a probably good model. But somewhere along the line, the town has to get the facility to a point that it could be used that way. Just maintaining the exterior won't make any progress to that, because there's things happening interior that are literally degrading. There's a mold problem, for example. The HVAC is probably out of date, stuff like that. And I'm presuming that if we ultimately go through a model like you're describing, we'll get to a point where the building is to a point where, I think of condos, right?
Mhm.
The condo, you get the building, but from the paint in is the responsibility for who's ever operating it in this case.
Yep.
Is that kind of the path that you're thinking of?
Well, I think here's the way I'm interpreting what you just said is
Sure.
that, okay, so if the town is going to wait on an entity to meet us before we do improvements to the building, what you're saying is your concern is there's things happening to that building that we would benefit from doing now in anticipation of that eventuality coming true. Okay.
Maybe, because ultimately, money will fix all of these problems.
Right.
It just may cost more if you wait. But that's okay. So
Sure.
what I'm really trying to get to is there a path? Maybe it'll take a couple of years, whatever, that the building improvements will be fixed so that the building is a functional
Yep.
place. It's ADA compliant, it's got all that stuff, everything that it needs. And then when do you think that will occur?
Okay.
Is
Well,
it a year, 2 years,
Sure.
5 years? Because then if an outside entity were to create itself.
Yep.
Kind of would like to know, where do we meet?
Can I piggyback a question on
Sure.
top of that too? The improvements that need to be done interior to the building would be pretty extensive from what I remember from the initial report that we did. The town definitely would benefit as the owner of the building. Is the town expecting this entity that they're looking to step forward to fund those improvements themselves? Or would that be something the town would be working with it in it?
So let me answer in the simplest form first, and then I think I can nuance it into that. So I think again we use the Dorchester Community Center as the template for what we're talking about, and if you look at what happened, we did quite a bit of time on this last week, earlier this week. I'm sorry, on the 12th. What effectively is happening with the Dorchester Community Center is there are more than one potential entity to conduct the operations inside the facility, and because that outlook is so strong with the meetings that the town manager was comfortable in saying to the council and advising us that the outlook for having a partner there is so good, even though it's not finalized. He made a recommendation to us that we should with confidence go ahead and make this quite significant facility changes over there, which involves demolition of some existing structures and the building of at least one phase of a potential 3-phase project. And that was based on his outlook of whether or not there was a partner there to meet us, right? And so I would assume, right, and I'm not speaking for the town manager, but using that model, the town manager, if he is getting contacted by an entity, even if it's not fully formed, if his assessment as the functional manager of the town is that this is a strong outlook for why we could proceed with something, then he could bring that to the council and the council could make a decision on that, right? So that would be my advice, right? If it's looking like it's almost there, like he's not gonna it doesn't have to be a sequential set of steps with a gate that's like, well, if at the end, it's not ones and zeros here, right? There's probably some shades of gray.
We'll see if we can find a way, I understand.
To marry
Okay.
it together.
To bring it, and I suspect if such an entity were to try to form itself, and if such an entity were to consider things to help, say, raise money, say, for building improvement, or save the museum project, or something like that, it could help get the town manager and others to thinking this way.
Correct.
And bring the town further closer to the table.
I think that is a safe assumption, right? Okay. And then the last part I might add though, too, when you start getting into some complexities of, what are site specific unique things, like interior conditions, mold, or things like that that need remediation. Another factor that I would assume that the town manager would want to talk about, but no, I'll frame it this way. What I would also want to hear about as a council member when the town manager would bring this back to us, assuming that would happen. We know we have parking issues at the existing town museum, right? And those have to be remediated in some way, you know, and we'll figure out how we get there over time. But the Historic Firehouse Museum also has a similar kind of scenario, right? So I think that is a factor that should proactively try to be mitigated or addressed in some way as part of that conversation. Because if we already have a museum in place today in the train museum, and it has parking constraints that are problematic for operating it in the way that we, I think, all assume we would want to do with an operational entity, I would anticipate the council to say, if I'm going to go move it from where it is in the form of the train museum and have this other facility, you know, how are we addressing the lessons learned from the facility we have before we make considerable investments in another facility that has the same problem?
Pardon the interruption. I'm not hearing Mike response.
In our old way of operating before we were straightened out, we did address that element of parking, at least we discussed it. And so I think there is a path there that could be achieved in finding parking agreements that would allow the use of that facility as a museum, considering the times it's likely to be open and the minimal operation it's likely to have throughout the year. I think that's a doable thing.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, looking back on our history, I recall when Mayor Ekman had set up that 501c3 for the firemen of Charles County and the EMS, and his goal was that all the different departments, fire departments, would come together and support the museum and make it happen to become a true museum. And that simply did not happen. So when you're looking for other, I mean, each of these fire departments have their own issues to deal with. And as the younger firemen come in, there doesn't seem to be a big interest in when it was totally a volunteer fire department. So I can see why these other departments don't want to invest in that 501c3, which is now deceased. But again, I don't know what kind of entity you would find that would partner with us to take on such a responsibility. If the fire departments throughout the county weren't interested, I can't imagine who else would be interested. In the meantime, if something isn't done with the interior of that building, they're going to have to move the 1929 fire truck out of there, because it's going to start to deteriorate because of the moisture in that building. And they're going to have to find another location for it. And if the 1929 fire truck, or it's not called a fire truck, what is that? Engine, you know, is moved out of there, then all local interest in that building, as far as firemen go, will be gone. So that's what I have to say.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Is there an amount associated with that in the budget yet or not?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. It is lower than what the original amount request was. Yeah, I think it's roughly half or a little less than half. It's in the tens of thousands, not the 100,000+. Yeah, it's not a six-figure number. Yeah.
Is there anything else? You mentioned the exterior of the building that they want to do with the exterior of the building at this time. I mean, it's in relatively good shape. You know, we take care of the garden back there, and we have a lot of traffic. We have a lot of traffic to that garden.
Okay.
But the exterior of the building, in our minds, is in fairly good condition. Mhm.
Yeah, I share your view of it. I walk past it, occasionally, and it's beautiful. Yeah, so I don't know what the I will say this when we had the discussion, um, and the number that I think town staff put in, Mr. Dooley just showed me the number on paper. It's $58,000. But what I don't know and could not speak to is what the staff's plan is for, or what the basis of that was. So, I'm sure the town manager has some, a basis of
But
what that estimate was
funding can
against.
only be used for the exterior of the building,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah. And in the capital plan, it basically describes what the approved, uses were of it. So, right. Okay. Yes, there is
Mhm.
potential. Okay. So then so just to wrap up for me, on 6.2, so the other real issue I wanted to talk about, if you happen to watch, the council meeting on May 12th, one of our agenda items was to do an annual review of assignments to boards and commissions. And so we had that conversation, and so there are terms that are different for council liaisons or ex officio members on all the boards and commissions, that are greater than a year. Sometimes they're 2, sometimes they're 4. But we do still get together every year and talk about it, make sure everything's still lined up. So this year, one of the things that we just did, the 2-3 weeks ago now on the council, is the La Plata Beautification Commission had essentially, for lack of a better description, it had essentially disbanded. It is just, its membership dropped off, and it just wasn't meeting and functioning. So staff took that as an opportunity to look at, okay, why is that? What can we do to take this moment to reset, gain interest, and do something that expands on that potentially? And that's what they did. They presented to us a concept, and the council is now executed on this, which is to create a sustainability advisory committee. And what so that'll be a brand new one that stands up. And what that is going to do is essentially do many of the core functions that the Beautification Commission did, but then also expand its scope into looking at some sustainability objectives and issues. And so the director of public works will be the staff liaison for that. And you can go and look. I won't belabor it here, but you can go look. There's documentation out there on what the basic charter of that is and what it's going to do. For me personally, I felt strongly that what that is doing, what its charter is very much in line with some of the things that I'm doing with the Planning Commission, where there's a lot of my personal objectives that I'm trying to do with the council really lie there. And so I really wanted to do that Sustainability Advisory Commission. It really just, it scratched an itch for me, and I was pretty interested in wanting to participate in it. And I'll say to you all the same thing I said during the council session the other night, which is, in consultation with my family and my employer, I had to really look at, okay, can I really take on a third commission? I think I'm the only counselor that's got 2 at this point, and going to 3 just with balancing personal life and kids and school and sports and everything. I said, I got to give one up, right? And so I felt that this, with us getting the 5-year work plan in place and that kind of stuff, so I feel really good about where we are as a group. And so I felt like, okay, if I'm going to offer anything, I would like to offer, and that's what I offered to the council, was I would like to take on the Sustainability Advisory Committee, but I would ask someone to take on the role here. And so the long story short of that is that night, what the council agreed to is that I would move to the Sustainability Advisory Committee, and that Councilman McCormick will come and support the HPC as the council liaison. So I think it was too short a notice for him to make it today, and so I think he's sent emails to you all, and and he'll be engaging with you in the future as you go forward. So I just wanted to be able to say that to you all in person, and I appreciate you again, changing the agenda around, and of course I'll keep my eye on everything we're doing here, and
And for your own.
Sure.
You go to coffee and we can talk about visions and big picture stuff, and then so stay aligned. So hopefully he'll take me up on that.
Great.
Anything else that you wanted to cover?
No, I think that covers it for me, and I'll just say thank you all again.
Well,
So-
thank
Yeah,
you
go
for
ahead.
your time.
Hey,
Thank
sure
you.
help. And before you depart, if we could do the minutes thing. Oh, thank you. So before you depart, if you could just hang for through the minutes discussion.
Sure,
And then we could be in good shape to go whenever you're ready.
sure.
Thanks again. I appreciate your help.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so Don, I think we're at the place now. We'll go to the approval of the minutes.
Correct, yes.
First of all, I'm going to need some help. I had trouble finding these online. I know they're there somewhere. I'm sure it's me. But I got them this morning, so I was able to review it. Has everybody had a chance to look at the
Yeah.
minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
You?
I look at it, but I mean, I
Okay.
wasn't here, so I really can't.
Oh, fair enough. All right. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
I
I don't.
do not.
I only have one. Near the end of the last meeting, this is why I asked you to stay. Councilman McCormick asked for the preparation by staff of the processes and procedures document
Yeah.
as a means to help us run these meetings smoother.
Yes.
So
Councilman Gutenberg asked for that, not McCormick.
I'm already-
That's okay. You've already moved on from me. You've already moved on. Already moved on.
Thank you for correcting me. Councilman Gutenberg asked for that.
Yeah.
And so it's not in the minutes. I think it needs to be reflected in the minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I think too, in council session, the town manager let us know, he is working on a common core set of rules of procedure that would be applied to all of the commissions and committees. And then that core will have the unique pieces of rule of procedure added into it. And I think he was talking about, I believe, July, when that core set will be ready. And so sometime after that, I would expect that those integrations be done. So, and that's just across the board. So looking forward to that for all this stuff. Yeah.
Sooner the better.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've struggled with this, so it would be good
Sure.
to get that done sooner than later. And
Yeah.
if we even can start the discussions on the unique pieces before that, it'd be better.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do.
Yeah, and there's it seems like an easy thing at first, but there's basis in code for some of the nuances for each one of the boards and committees, and just taking a look after a long time of probably not having them all really kind of scrubbed and aligned to maybe what the council's doing with theirs too. It's just it's just a good thing to do, just tune everything up. Yeah.
That, but it's one of those things where there's probably going to be some discussion around first draft versus what we finally do, and it would be good to get that discussion started so that we can build a better document. Because that's at the end of the day, we want to do it right, and that I think requires everybody's involvement. The stakeholders have an opportunity to participate. Okay, so anyway, if you could make that update to the minutes, please. That would be good.
Okay, just to
Chair,
be,
requesting reconfirmation of exactly which item you would like updated and the specific information like added.
Yeah, let's see, I guess it would go, that came up during the staff report, no, excuse me, your town council report, is that when that came up last time?
Yeah, so maybe that's the thing to do, is just have the clerk refer to my specific comments there and maybe annotate it appropriately. We don't want to add new information to
No,
the minutes of what we discussed here, but yeah.
It should be in the report, so it's.
Oh, sure.
there. And I think it came up during your report, or maybe it came
It
up.
did. No,
towards
no.
the end of the day.
It was in the councilman
Um,
report.
And if you, I'll trust you guys to pull it out of the minutes, but the action item was to create the process and procedures document for how the HPC is going to operate.
yes, we can incorporate the summary
Okay,
action.
thank you.
We had a second on the minutes, but not a motion. Did we not?
I don't think we had a
Do
motion.
we have a
No.
motion to accept the minutes, I guess, after the amendments? or
With,
do we do
with,
that next
with the
meeting?
modification that proffered by chair.
Modification.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll second that.
all right, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay,
Vote passes unanimously.
Clarification of who made the motion?
I guess it would have been me. I was asking about it, but it became a motion.
And the second?
Jane
Jane.
Hobbs.
Thank you.
Okay, so where are we now on our agenda?
We are up to item number 3, matters of discussion. Item 3.1, the draft preservation professionals list from the HC8. It says PC, it should say left on an H, it should be HPC work plan, item number 3.
Okay. All right, you want to kick off this conversation?
Absolutely. Thank you. So as part of our one of our work plan items, number 3 on our work plan, staff put together a draft preservation professionals list, which I've returned the draft professional trades directory. So I think that made a little bit more sense. And I basically went through and tried to identify various professional trades that are useful for historic preservation, for historic buildings, or even for vintage buildings, or for other purposes that the community may want to reference or to use to look for engaging with people that have work that they like done to their building structures, objects on their property. This list was kind of a compendium of staff's research, building upon the work that's been done by other agencies, both in Maryland and in Virginia, as well as Charles County and other agencies in Maryland. I've tried to make this more Maryland-based as much as possible. One of the challenges in putting this together, as I think I mentioned to you the other day, the last time we met, is that there's lots of different types of trades that are needed, but they're not always locally based. And so you have some unique trades like that might involve, restoring, original windows. Well, nobody may not do that here. So you may have to go out a little bit further to find these people. But I try to keep it in sort of the, the Tidewater area that might be within reasonable driving distance, where a contractor might be willing to engage a property owner or whomever that would be interested in their services. So when you go through the list, some of these folks are not always, right next door. They might have to drive an hour and a half to get here, but they're out there. And again, this is really just for reference. The other important thing to realize too with this is that the list that has been created and is not, it's not a recommendation list. It's not any sort of list of people that the town is somehow vetted as being competent or the best price or qualified. This is just simply, this is for public service. Here's some names and different types of trades and contractors. Here's where they are. Here's their names. Here's some email addresses if they're, and websites if they are available. Just to help people get started. We don't warrant anybody. We don't recommend anybody, but it's there for your use. And that's fundamentally how other agencies handle their list. This is quite a fairly common thing that organizations that have historic preservation programs will typically offer the community. I would tell you that the list that I have, I think, is hands down extremely comprehensive with a number of various contractors and professionals out there. A lot of the lists that I've seen were maybe a page, 2 pages at the most. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for anybody in La Plata or anyone outside of La Plata if they're looking for folks to potentially engage with. When this eventually goes onto our website, there's going to be a provision in here that if somebody wants to, because it's a living document in my mind, if somebody has a trade that their name's not listed in there, it's just simply going to be hey, planning department or town of La Plata, I've got a business that does this. I'm interested in what you're doing. Maybe I have experience, maybe I don't, but I'd like to be added to the list. Okay, great. And we just build upon that. And so that's kind of the spirit that this was put together in, but I wanted to get your input as a work plan item. If there's maybe a trade that's been missed, or if you had any questions about the approach to this. But fundamentally, I think it's with the exception of any little anything I might have missed, I think it's pretty good shape from my perspective, but I wanted to get the commission's feedback on it before we fully execute it.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions or? I have a couple, but before I go.
Because nobody addressed the only question I had, which was if somebody else wanted to be on it, how they would go about getting there. So,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I looked at the list too, and it looked like there was nobody local on the list. I mean, local, like,
Did you see the links?
yes, it
Yeah.
published. All right, so let me just make sure I understand. In terms of who is this for? It's for the general public.
Public, correct.
In terms of what it is, it's really nothing more than a compendium of businesses that may have done this sort of work before.
Yes, exactly.
There is no specific standard applied to the list. There's no specific statement that the vendors are really good at what they're doing. They're just on a list.
They're on the list, and there's at the top of the directory, it basically explains and in a little bit more detail about what this list is. So there's no.
I didn't realize that there's absolutely no standard applied to it. I just wonder the value added to someone getting a list that may or may not have people that are qualified, and may lead them to somebody who's there. He put themselves on the list, but they're not qualified.
There's absolutely no way for staff to have the ability to vet everybody out. It's just not possible. And I would challenge anyone to find an agency that makes that kind of representation, that we vetted everybody out. Nobody wants that liability. It's there more for a place for somebody to start.
Right, but if the town, this is just me.
Yeah.
If the town puts a list out and says, hey, these are vendors that based on what you said in your report, in terms of what other towns have done and all the things that we're aware of, that we think are a reasonable set of vendors, to me, that's an endorsement. Whether you want to call it that or not, or whether you want to take any responsibility for it or not, is another question. Because clearly you do not wish to take any responsibility for it. And I just worry that you'll end up putting something out there that'll create a liability or a perception that people will have that, oh, this is wonderful. Oh yeah, I've got this period home that I want to redo, and I want to be, I may want to be on a historic register someday. I want to get people that I know will do good work, and I'll be good for that. And then they'll turn around and, a window guy will come in and put in Anderson windows in place of, someone else. Oh, well, they're kind of styled like that. So I just worry that this will lead to potential risks that are not clear to folks. And in terms of other uses for this, there's no requirement. Let's say when we engage to do the firehouse, is there any requirement at all that list be consulted in any manner as whoever goes forward with the firehouse goes to find vendors and the like? Because I assume we'll put that out for some kind of competitive bid. We'll get people who can do things, and you'll be able to state.
Rich, let me use an example here.
Awesome.
The Charles County Department of Aging has a registry that they will hand out. Suppose I need care with my loved one. I don't know where to go, who to hire. The Department of Aging puts out a registry. It's just a common list of people who care for others within their home. They might be a certified CNA. They might be a registered nurse. They just might be somebody that's known as a caregiver. Their name is on the list. They hand you a list. You can look at that list. You can call whoever you want on it, but the Charles County Department of Aging takes no responsibility for that at all. Okay. That's one example that I can give you. It's simply a list of people where you can go that you might get help, but it's up to you to vet them and determine whether you hire them yourself. But it's no recommendation from the county with these names. I could put my own name on there if I chose to, you know.
So Don, you obviously worked in this type of thing in the past in other capacities. Have you ever encountered any situations in your experience where something like this did happen, where the town or the government put out a list and said, here, consult this list. Somebody consulted it, was very unhappy, and then went back to the town and said, hey, what are you doing here?
Unequivocally, no. When I
Because the
worked in-
town carries no responsibility for the names that are on that list.
Correct.
None
And-
whatsoever.
A
And
lawyer will make responsibility for anything.
the,
So you gotta be careful
The-
with that.
I can tell you from one of the communities I worked for in California for 17 years, I put together a similar list. And during that entire time, nobody ever,
I
and
mean, we're not vetting these people. They're simply calling in and saying, I would like to have my name
It-
added to that. But it's a homeowner's responsibility or our responsibility to vet the person we're hiring to do the job at the firehouse.
think of this as like, I'm sure for those who remember the old phone books, right? Is that you had the telephone company put them out and there's a list of businesses. They're not vetting those people out. It's just, here's the list of folks that might be helpful to you. But we have,
Yeah, I don't know how good an analogy that is, because the only thing you need to do to get your name in Yellow Pages was pay for an ad.
There-
That was it.
There you go.
That's not what this is.
and it's the same concept. And there's a disclaimer right before you even start looking at the list. It says professional trades directory has been produced solely for informational purposes only. The directory is not an endorsement by the town of La Plata, Maryland, or recognition of professional competency or trade quality. As a local government agency, the town of La Plata cannot recommend the goods and services provided by anyone on this directory, as it is not possible for the town to fully verify the experience and credentials of those listed. Therefore, the directory should not be construed as a government approval list of any kind. Determining the suitability of the individuals and the firms in this directory is your sole responsibility. It is your sole responsibility to ascertain whether the individuals and firms in this directory have the appropriate government licensures and permits to conduct business in the town of La Plata. I think that lays it out pretty well.
All right, so just let me follow up on Stuart's question a little bit and ask the question a little bit different. He asked you if there was, in terms of your experience and any issues that have arisen, and you said no. How about the other way? Did you see any evidence that it did any value?
Yeah, I think it does, because if you have a proper website, there's a resource. It's a resource that's there. It's the same as if the town puts up its own website. Does it have value? Is there a way of measuring who looked at what? I don't think we have that type of technology to say how many people are looking at it. We know if there's information on a website, and the better you build it out, the more likely somebody is going to go to it as a quality research tool.
Well, then my only suggestion would be that as you present this to because you're not asking for approval, you're just
No.
looking for insight. My recommendation would be that you do some kind of risk value assessment of this. Because to be honest, despite that very well written disclaimer, it probably opens us up for potential complaint, if not liability, versus is there any evidence there'll be any value added to anybody in the community that list exists? I don't know. So over to you guys. That's my view. Think about it.
Chair, what I will do is I will ask the town attorney when I see them again, if he sees any downside to this.
I'm looking for
If
the upside.
he doesn't,
Well, the upside, I can tell you, like my own small HOA community where I live, we put out a list of not necessarily vendors, handyman, whatever you want to call them, who have worked within our HOA and felt that they did good work. And I can go to that list and I can pick out a name on it and say, well, gee, I'm going to call this fella, have him come in, see if I feel he's going to be a credible painter for me. So I do think there is value in it, Rick. I
Right, but
really
see,
do.
that example is good. But what you said, these are people that we have experience in the community. We put them on the list because we know of them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't take responsibility for what they're doing, but
No.
at least we know of them.
Yes.
And these have been people that have performed well, or that have come recommended by other neighbors.
Right.
Whatever, we don't have such criteria here. In fact, there's purposefully none criteria like that to how someone gets on the list beyond that they asked to be.
Asked to be on the list.
Alternatively, by the way, this could be a fundraiser for the town. And you want to be on the list? Buy a spot.
We're not
No,
asking,
No,
we're not asking people to buy
no.
spots on
So we're
this.
not gonna have a real yellow.
No.
pages here, but,
It's not the spirit of that.
Yeah, okay, so fair enough. But anyway, just take those.
Mhm.
I have
All
a
right, so I will bring this back then if the commission has no other, I'm sorry, Jim.
I have a question. Is there any possibility of a feedback area that could be added there? You know, like I use this guy and he's really super and it's just added somewhere on the list, or is that a more of a problem?
I have not seen that and
Uh-huh.
And the problem with that
you
is,
you create sort of an Angie,
here's a
this sort
true
of,
example. We
yeah.
have done in our home that we couldn't have been more satisfied with. Got a call, who did it? I told them. They were totally dissatisfied with the work he did. So, yeah,
uh-huh.
nah, you don't want to get there, go there.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Uh-huh,
It's just my
uh-huh.
opinion.
But I could see the value in at least having a place where people could comment on that, even if it wasn't in the context of the
Yeah.
town, because what you also end up is people reviewing their own company. They'll just put forth
Yeah,
their
they
buddy
will.
to go in there and tell, oh, yeah, he's great.
I think
It's like
there's,
looking at a restaurant, how many stars does it
Yeah.
have?
you have, I mean, there's plenty of websites out there, like Yelp that, if somebody was looking to explore,
Mhm.
hiring somebody that they would go to anyway. And that's where that belongs, not for
Okay.
the town to host
Gotcha.
something like that.
Mhm.
When you move in from another area and you don't know any contractors, you know nothing. I just think something like that is helpful to the community.
Mhm.
But that, again, the town is not endorsing it. They're just giving you some information out there that could be helpful to you.
Mm.
But the idea of reviewing it with the county attorney, I think is an excellent one.
So with that said, then I'll bring this, I'll clean up whatever, there's any little tweaks that I need to make to it, and I'll bring it back and the commission can do a resolution, to adopt it as their first list. And it's just an ongoing one that it'll be updated from time to time and, but we'll put it on the website. And so, but I wanted to give you guys first blush at it.
Any other comments on this topic? All right.
No.
What's next here? We got, we
Vacancy.
did 3-2, 3-3 vacancy.
Yes. So we have tried to recruit for, since our prior, alternate member had resigned, just prior to the last meeting. We had one person that was on the list that was remaining from the prior recruitment. Staff advertised the position again to make sure that if there was anyone else that was interested to be a member of the commission as an alternate. We have not received any further interest in that. I believe Mr. Rosenthal's name is still on the prior list, and the legislative analyst was supposed to reach out to him. I don't know if I assume she did or did not, to see if Mr. Rosenthal is still interested in participating on the commission as an alternative member. If so, we will go ahead and nominate his name to the council for appointment. And that's kind of where we're at. So that will happen if Mr. Rosenthal is amenable to that. Otherwise, we'll continue to advertise for the position. But if he is, then we will have the council consider his name at one of the upcoming meetings prior to the next HPC meeting. So that's kind of where we're at. No, sir, because we don't have a space for, if you want to make, during the public comment period, that would be appropriate to do, or we can talk offline.
Okay. That's good. All right. Any other comments, questions on that one? Okay, well, hopefully we have a working solution there. We'll see what happens. All right. Subcommittee appointments, number 4.
I put that on there if there's any need for it, but if there's not, we
Well,
can move on.
it's funny, we haven't really established some subcommittee, so I'm not sure because we've got
There's-
to figure out how to go about doing that. So, we've had people standing in certain areas where, Bob Curran's been kind of working the train station as a subcommittee, functioning like one. Mary Beth has been functioning relative to the sign projects that we've been doing. We had some, we don't have anybody right now working in the historic firehouse because we were kind of put on hold for that for a while. So I'm not sure. I guess maybe for the next meeting, we could probably pursue this question a little deeper now that I'm curious.
Yeah, no, staff, this is just something that would routinely be on the agenda. Staff's not recommending it or see a need at this moment for any appointments, but we put it on there just as a standing item. So if there's a need for it, after we go through the matters of discussion, it can be done at that time.
Okay, then.
That's the spirit of it.
That's good. And I think what we'll do, and Stuart, I don't know if you're here, what you think of this, but I think what we can do is we'll figure out what we want to put on that more with some specifics for the next meeting. And we'll get, because first of all, I'd like to properly establish those people who are really actually doing it already and get them codified officially. And so we'll pursue that next meeting if that works. Okay. Any thoughts? Anybody else? Please? Okay. Updates to the work plan. 1, I guess, around 250.
Okay. I'll turn it over to the subcommittee on this.
We
Make their report and I can add as.
All right. We worked on Maryland, I mean, on La Plata Day, which was, we felt, Mary Beth and I felt was very successful. Lots of kids came, lots of people tried on clothes, got their pictures taken and all. And we felt that it was a very worthwhile project. I think that we really need probably to meet with Lucinda to finalize more on the 4th of July as to exactly what we're doing, what she has in mind for the 4th of July. So because, well, we had just talked about a number of things and hadn't really come up with something. Has she spoken with you at all?
I spoke with Ms. Anderson about
I'm sorry.
sort of our
Yeah.
general programming on it. And I think that her and I agree that it makes more sense to try to feed into existing programs so that there's a sort of a sub-program like we did with the Living History.
Yes, yes.
And so that it's programmed in it because people are already aware of that program. And I thought it was very successful.
Yes.
For the play today. So we're looking at doing more of that in the future. I know Lucinda is interested in sitting down with the subcommittee to kind of go over the remaining year and to add potential other programming rather than trying to create one big program.
Right.
Because that becomes a heavier lift on staff to establish.
All right. So will we probably hear from her or should, okay, wonderful. That sounds good. So
can I, just a little bit of feedback for you. Lucinda briefed what was going to happen. I thought there was going to be some kind of a passport program or something where it was going to get people to come around And the train station was going to be one of those things. I will tell you that we were open the whole time.
Let,
5 people came back up. It was very
Okay,
quiet as
okay.
we've ever had. So it is, and I didn't get any evidence that this passport thing ever came to fruition.
I
And
spoke
if it
with,
did, we didn't hear.
I spoke with Lucinda before before La Plata days, because we had originally talked about getting the passport out. Mary Beth and I got together and came up with a list of places that we felt would be good for use with the passport in the town of La Plata. And I think we came up with a 20, close to 25, I think. And we did give that to her. Because I know, Rich, you're right, at first she had said we would kind of introduce that in April, and we didn't do that. But when I talked with her and gave her that list, she said we could do it in the future. And we have not actually put that into plan, but she does have the list.
Okay. The trench.
No.
Would you add us?
No, let me tell you, the list, the list that we did was that I gave her was strictly for homes. But certainly,
Okay.
yeah, homes in La Plata, but certainly, fire station wasn't on there, was it?
Okay, so.
But definitely, of course, we want to add that to it.
Here's the small business day, they always
Uh-huh.
did.
It's surprising that you didn't get more people, I think.
Very, the slowest day I've ever seen.
So the focus on the La Plata Day was the living history.
Right.
Yeah, that's really what the focus was.
Right.
It had really nothing to do with passports at all. The passport program is something that we had talked about. I know Ms. Anderson does have some, based on additional research and time, she has some concerns about the lift of trying to fully exploit that concept.
Yes.
And so I think that one of the things that she wants to talk about is how we might look at maybe modifying the program or developing, this is more as like a scavenger hunt or some sort of other learning or learning activity where maybe that it could be based on that or a program that makes it more manageable for town staff to do, because Lucinda has she's basically responsible for the concerts and everything. So her time's valuable as is everyone's. And I think that's one of the things that when we do meet again, that we'll be discussing, some of the vision that we had a few months ago with where we at now, what can we realistically do? What did we learn from the last program? And how do we move forward to create that, execute the concepts that we've talked about.
Right.
In its simplicity, what it does is get people to go see things you want them to go see.
Yeah.
And so, we did it before, it worked fine. I would suggest maybe dust off what's been done and start there, but whatever. It's
Were the sandwich boards put out at
Yeah.
the market,
The other question is
at the market? And again, Jim,
Martin's. I didn't see it on the marquee this time, and you usually do. Did I miss that?
Tony is the one that
Nobody
always.
else did make that happen. There's an extra thing, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
And we can do that again, but, and since I'll let you finish, because.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Is
Yeah.
that it on the
Mhm,
250?
mhm.
You have till Maryland 300. to get this. And I look forward to watching it.
Hopefully we will be looking down on it.
Right.
Don, there's an item that's not on here for what's going on with some of the subcommittees that I'd like to address. So this is related to the operation of the train station and where we are right now. So I'd like to talk to that. We submitted a proposed opening schedule to you back early March, before our last meeting. I've yet to hear back if that's a good schedule, do that. I've yet to see it advertised. I've yet to see it show up on the calendar for the town. And so, what I'd like to do is ask that our schedule be publicized. If you misplace that, I'll give it to you again. Because our next opening would be May 23rd. And, I'll soon be soliciting people to support from a docent perspective. But I want to make sure that we are actively advertising the openings.
If you want to pass it on, my recollection was that I passed it up to the town or the assistant town manager. And Lucinda should also have a copy of it as well to work with. So if you want to provide that again, I'll be happy to
So provide.
put that as a reminder.
Next
Do you-
Saturday.
Yeah, so the
Can you-
23rd is supposed to be our next opening.
Can you send
Oh,
this to me as an email,
That's
please? That
Memorial
would be
weekend.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will do that.
That is Memorial Weekend.
Well, that's usually when we did it. That's why
Mhm.
we usually did it. Okay, so I will do that because we're not getting the
If we don't
Right.
advertise it.
flag we
nobody-
used to get.
And
All right,
I
Well,
liked your
I think
idea.
the part- excuse me, go ahead. You liked your, okay.
I like the idea of definitely having a sandwich board at the, here. When we have, like for the 4th of July, because to my knowledge, I didn't see anything here that said, you can go to the
Oh, yeah.
firehouse.
And there
Yeah.
was no announcement that the train
Right.
station was open.
Right.
But the market holds a huge crowd now.
Mhm.
Kelly Phipps was the one, I think, that used to put them out at the market for us, or have we been doing it ourselves?
it's been done until now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Kelly
Yeah,
does it.
she's been doing it. And that's good. It's a big draw. I
Right.
often people come by, and say, oh, I saw the board. I saw it at the market.
I think,
Good. It's
I think the
effective.
parking is another issue though for us.
Yeah,
I
so,
mean, if people come by and they can't figure out where to park, they just keep on going.
so you're a good straight person. So what's going on with the parking?
Okay, that's on that. Let's
That-
stick to our agenda. If we
Okay.
could share, we can talk offline.
Okay.
Okay, right, and then while we're talking about the schedule, I know Stuart's been working for a long time to try to get a sign made that we would post at the train station. It's been referred to town staff for support. I don't think it's happened yet. So, can you give us will that happen? I know there's into operational details.
Yeah.
It seems like nothing happens meeting to meeting, so just.
Again, I think this is an offline conversation. We need to,
No, is something happening?
we need to stick to our agenda, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay. What's next on the agenda?
Is item 5.2 is promotion of the approved Centennial Plaque Program.
Okay.
I believe that's Ms. Chandler's item as the subcommittee member.
I believe you asked me to come up with 5 locations that we would start the Centennial Plaque Program with. And I have a list of 5. If you would like me to review that now, or is that just something I was to give to you for future reference?
You can,
That was going to be our recommendations of the first 5.
yeah, the council's approved a budget for up to 5 centennial plaques.
Mhm.
And my sort of vision for this is that as the subcommittee member that to sort of help kick this off is to start approaching
Mhm.
business or property owners that
Right.
appear to have a building that's at least 100 years old, or
Mm-hmm.
if you're aware of it, to see if they're interested in the program. Yeah, I don't, unless the commission has a priority list of businesses or rather
Mhm.
the property owners, I think that would be an appropriate thing to discuss. Ultimately, it's the property owner's decision if they want to do it, but it was more to sort of kick this off and start making progress on getting the program up and running. Staff has been working and is be working a little bit more with Commissioner Chandler on getting the applications out as well, so that when she goes to visit some of these property owners, that she'll be able to drop off an application at least. There's no cost for the application. But it would be nice to start getting some momentum on this.
I've had conversations with 5 of these people who are listed on our for our program. 3 of them being businesses here in town, 2 of them being private homes. And I'm getting a very good response. It's like, let us know when it's gonna start.
Yeah, so
Send us the information. So we've got to have the information to send out to them.
yeah, so the program would officially start on July 1st. That would be the fiscal year 27 start.
But shouldn't we first kick it off with something in the town notes that this program
Yeah.
is in place and it's going to be up and running?
No, I
and
think that's a great suggestion.
Who to
Put that in there.
contact for your application? Because there might be many others that are interested besides the first 5 that we chose.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's going to ultimately be a first come, first serve and those that qualify. But no, I
Yeah.
think it's an excellent suggestion to put it in the next town newsletter.
I mean, we've got to get it out publicly to the people that this program exists and it's been approved and we're ready to move forward.
I think that we can do some advertisement with what the tools that we have in the town. But I think if you're going out and sort of approaching people about it to make them aware of, there's value in doing that to sort of kickstart things off because people are always just going to our website.
And that I've
And
talked to is very
and it can be
receptive.
used. Yeah. And we'll have the application ready to go before July 1st. And I think you can start passing those out.
Well, shouldn't the application, or maybe we should discuss this later. I feel the application and all the requirements to go with it and procedures would come before the Historic Preservation Commission before we,
The application itself doesn't, as I explained offline, that's purely administrative responsibility. But with certainly providing that to you so that, and providing it online would be our next step when we finalize it.
thank you.
Question on that, and forgive me if I missed it before, I just don't recall the answer to it. You mentioned that there were 5 slots a year and you have interest. Mary Beth says there's already interest in probably filling those 5 slots almost instantly. Is there a waiting list? Would there be a waiting list or would it just be every year the first 5?
I think we could do a waiting list. I think that's fine. If somebody wants to put their name in and put an application, and they're basically just put on hold for anywhere from a month to 12 months. It just really kind of depends, but yeah.
Kick this off,
And
I think
it's-
we have to.
So if that waiting list were to build to a significant number of people, then the process could possibly be adjusted to more than 5 a year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we need to, I think the important thing is to demonstrate there's interest in it. And I think a waiting list is a good way of demonstrating to the council that, hey, there's a lot more interest in it. We need more funding for it. We want to expand it to maybe instead of 5, maybe it's 10. I don't know what that number looks like, but it's a good way of kicking it off.
Thank you. No.
All right, any other comments on this one? Thank you. Let's see, where are we now, Don?
We're at commission reports. Commissioners reports,
I think we did.
item
that, right?
6.1.
Mhm.
No, this is the opportunity for each of the members of the commission to
Oh.
make comments.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
I think I made my comment when we were discussing the 250th. I think I've said everything I needed to say. Any questions I had?
We're good.
Yeah,
Where's
this,
that event more than offload, by the way?
just so the commission's clear, this is basically kind of an open discussion. Anything that's on your mind that relates to Historic Preservation Commission, it's kind of a free forum. So that's the intent of this.
Perfect.
I have 2 things. Yesterday, I stopped by the train station museum because Tony and I were going to have a meeting there, at least on the grounds. And Tony brought with him some items that he wished to donate to the museum.
Oh.
And so I took them inside and put them in the cabinet in the museum. But that underscores again that we still need a process to receive and catalog items that are being received. And possibly now to store them because it's starting to get a little tight in there. Also, when I got into the building, I heard the beeping of the alarm system. And I wondered, has that been rendered? I mean, is that being used again? I was afraid I was going to set it off. I didn't know how to. But has that been reactivated? Is that something that we're using now?
Well, Mr. Bowling, remember we, several months ago, we had a conversation online with Mr. Cochran, who's the Public Works Director, to identify issues or things that needed to be addressed. And I was hoping that you and him were already engaging in conversations of things that you've identified or may identify at the train station to have those remediated
Well,
if necessary.
We did have a discussion about it and got feedback.
Has any of
What's
them,
happened since then? So,
have any of them been
and,
addressed?
but I haven't pushed to get that feedback either. So, but no, I haven't heard any feedback from him.
I would encourage you to, Wilson's pretty good. He may have just slipped through his cracks.
One other small comment, and nothing has moved forward yet with Don, with getting the historic marker in place. We met with him prior to the meeting 2 months ago, and he's going to get it up, the historic marker for the school historic marker. We also have gotten back into our hands the Willing Helper Society marker. So we've got that back in our hands. And Don and Rich are working on getting that up.
Yeah, so just to fill you in,
Right.
because you had to leave early. So we agreed, not going to mount it on the wall at the Willing Helpers. It's going to be on a post with a plate holding it up so that it's readable. And it'll be separate from, it won't be on the building. So Donnie took the measurements and information back. So I think he's going to create that stand. And then we'll get it installed. In the meantime, the plaque
Right.
is safely stored in my garage. If there's a more suitable place to put it, I'm happy to do it. But that's where it is right now. So just let me know.
That's
what you
great.
want to do with that. I hope you can
Yeah.
get to that.
Moving
Well,
on
the
that.
one at the train station museum is on one of those bases, as well as the one at the
Mhm.
Episcopal Church. So
Yes.
they've been manufactured by the town, so I'm sure he'll
Yep.
get that going.
Just to be clear, this is you're referring to Don. It's not me. You're referring
No.
to the Don Gardner in Public Works.
He was with us at the Willing Helpers place. And I didn't want to do anything of that nature without him being there. So
I do have one more question. In connection with the all the activities that Tony Pazila and I are doing in relation to the 1926 tornado and our projects, our personal projects there, Tony's putting together a fairly significant gala or I guess really it's an event to introduce this documentary that we're producing to the town and have it shown for the first time. And he wants to have a big event. And I think he's already approached Rich about having the train station museum open because it's going to be in the vicinity where everything's going on. And we have the tornado exhibit in there. As part of that, we're interested in possibly, and this would be Tony and I doing this on a personal level, expanding temporarily just for that evening, the exhibit on the 1926 tornado that's currently in the building. And what we're planning, or we'd like to try to do anyway, is just frame some objects, photos and posters and things that we've made about the event. Take down some of the photos that are currently being used in the museum just for that evening, replace them with these so that people attending that part of the event would have the expanded experience of that exhibit, and then restore everything back to the way it is before the museum is open the next time. What we're asking is, can we do that, or do we need to go through facilities in the town to have the photos taken down and new ones mounted back up again?
Yeah, that's you hit it on the head. That's really its facilities. That would be through Public Works.
Okay.
So Mr. Cochran can help you with that. Mhm.
support it.
Yeah, I mean, it's his call to make, but I don't see any objection to it, but I'm not in Public Works. But it seems like a reasonable request.
I just want to make sure I didn't want to bother him with it. It wasn't
Yeah,
anything he
no.
had to deal with.
No.
Okay.
And so when you speak to him, just follow up on the other items on your.
Yes,
to-do
I
list.
will.
I
kind of dropped that. I
If
didn't,
the,
I forgot to
if
follow.
the burglar alarm has been activated, none of us know how to turn it off because
Well,
it beeped the whole time we were open the last
It,
time.
yeah, it just beeped that showing that it was on, but we don't have the codes for it. And, I mean, I looked at it, it looks like it's functional. It just doesn't have, we don't have any codes to put
Yeah,
in.
and I don't know what happens to, and if it could be extended to the caboose, that would be cool. All right. Anyway, I will, I do have a question about where we are. I'm sorry, were you done?
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
You guys, okay. So in other items of concern, Springdale is coming to visit the train station next week.
Mhm.
2020. You know what kind of an organization they are.
Yes,
So help me,
generally.
so help me with the parking. Right now, we're not ADA compliant because there are physical barriers between where they can park, even if they park illegally, and to get to the ramps. So is it, I saw that when I was over there the last time that there are surveyor stakes out. We've identified where the property is for the train station, which includes the old parking spaces we used to have. And so is something happening with the parking? Will anything be done I did advise Springdale to take a look at it to see if they had any concerns. But I don't know if what's happening next, or is something happening? Any idea on a timeline?
That's probably a question I need to defer to the town manager.
Do you talk to the town manager? Can you defer the question, or do I need to call
From time, for I have regular meetings with him, but you may want to email him directly.
him? Okay,
I would copy the assistant town manager, Michelle Miner, and myself. As the original request for the tour came through Miss Miner.
did let them know that this issue is out there. I
Mhm.
haven't heard anything back. All right. I asked about the sign thing. We've been trying to get a little sign for months. Is there are you aware of anybody buying the damn thing?
I'm sorry,
Are you aware of
Buying
anybody
what?
buying the sign?
No, I'm not.
Who do I have to call? Do I have to
Again,
call?
it's a town asset, so this would be, Miss Miner would probably be an appropriate person.
Some repairs requested. I guess we have to re-engage again. Who's the gentleman that you said?
Wilson Cochran, he's the director of Public Works.
So I guess you'll have to engage with him on those other issues,
we
like
had-
damage to the door and the windows and whatnot.
Honestly, I didn't check that. I mean, when I was there, I didn't check, see if that had been done.
Yes.
I did notice the nails are still, a lot of nails are still popped up on the
And the
deck,
decking,
but
yeah.
we had a very good discussion, and I don't think that it's probably my follow-up that needs to.
Okay, well, whatever it takes.
Did he actually meet with you there to see what the issues are? Is this all being done through emails?
It was all done through pretty much email and just discussion.
Well, perhaps we need to have Mr. Cochran come to the train station and see what our situation is in order to get the work done.
That'd be awesome. I'd join you for that meeting if you like.
I'll suggest it.
And on another note, I don't know why we're going to be open if we don't have sufficient parking. Why is the train station going to be open if you've got to cross the railroad tracks to get to it, or you've got to walk on the lawn with the traffic on Kent Avenue? I don't understand why we're taking our time to be there if we can't provide parking for people.
That certainly does tie into the issue with Springdale, because I mean, they have people that
Yeah, how are they gonna solve this?
navigate
Right.
current situation.
Mhm.
So that's going to have to be addressed either before they go, or they're going to have to adjust accordingly.
And today's the 15th and they're coming 5 days from now. That is going to be a
Well,
fiasco.
I'll be
We don't get
curious
worked
if
out.
they don't want to. Yes, it's going to be a potential risk. That's why I told her to drive by and look at it and see what she thinks.
Mhm.
Okay?
Do you need additional support there that day?
I would welcome it. It's not, I
Yeah.
don't think it's necessary. I don't know. I
Well, I
don't
mean,
know
I-
if you could do it.
I had been unable to make the original planned date, so they rescheduled it, and
Okay.
I feel like I should probably be there anyway, but
All right.
I'll try to get there if I can.
It's currently set for the 20th, I think at 10 a.m. Let me look at remind myself, so I don't give you bad gals, which I'm good at. Yes, 10 a.m. They're scheduled next week. Okay, believe I have anything else on my list, to discuss. So we've had I think that moves us to item 6.3, staff report.
Thank you. So for the next HPC meeting, I will bring back the final draft for the Preservation Professionals List or Professional Trades Directory for the commission to adopt, and we will work on putting that online. And then I apologize.
You have it there in time to give us ample time to review it, a week or something before the meeting.
Yeah, well, you normally get it out your packets on Friday before the meeting. So if you're not looking online, look online about after 2:30, 3 o'clock. It's usually there.
Are you asking that we can review the list? Is that what you're asking, Rich?
I think he's.
No, just the document in general. There's some general, I don't know what's in it. So
Mhm.
until I fully understand what's in it and how it's going to work and that, there might be questions. Rather have them out and have the opportunity to give you some feedback before you just post it, but whatever you want to do.
I mean, the town is posting it, not with the approval of the historic
No,
preservation.
this is a work plan item. So part of this process is for the commission to say, okay, that I'm satisfied with the work product, and you adopt the resolution officially finishing that project for the work plan purposes. And then we go ahead and in this case, we will post it online.
But once it becomes a resolution, doesn't it look like the town is endorsing these people?
Not at all. Not at all. This is just a work plan. It's a work plan item. We've accomplished that. And we're implementing, what the goal is to make a directory. That's, and like we talked about, and that's all it is.
But the item you're talking about putting on now, I apologize. Maybe I misunderstood. Are you talking about the 250 the centennial?
No,
That's a different.
that's a completely different topic. No.
You're talking, I got it. I'm with you. Thank you.
Okay.
But whatever you put, time to review would be good.
Okay, so if you have any feedback on it, I'll accept the feedback 2 weeks prior to the next meeting, because I need time to respond to any questions or comments that you have.
But we won't see it till the Friday before the meeting.
Well, if you have some suggestions or comments that we didn't discuss here, and I didn't really hear anything specifically that there was anything inherently wrong with the list of the types of professional contractors that are out there. If there's folks that I've missed, maybe there's additional
No, I'm not.
professionals out there. That's what I'm
You heard
looking
the
for.
questions that we asked about the
Yeah.
whatnot.
Mhm.
And-
Asked you to take some action to.
Well, I will ask the town attorney if he sees any risk whatsoever on this. I don't think he's going to, but he may add some additional language to the preamble of this. But other than that, it's pretty common thing in most communities that have preservation programs. But anyway, my intent is to bring a resolution back for the commission to say, yeah, we're done with it. And then I'm going to start the conversation to start our next work plan item, which is the Legacy Business Program. And I'll be providing some background on that as in a staff report and sort of outline what that looks like and some of the decision points, and to kind of give you all a sense of what that program is and how it's been used in other communities, and how it can fit La Plata, because it's not a one size fits all type of program. So that's what I'll be bringing to you the next meeting.
Okay.
And that's it.
It's not on here, but I'd like to just open up the floor for a quick public comment. Half our public left, but if there's any public comment that anybody would like to offer, I'd like to open it up now. I don't know if we have anybody online with us. I can't tell.
There's no one online.
Nobody online. Okay,
Yeah, please.
so any comment from the public? Okay, well, thank you. In future, if you could put that.
Yeah, absolutely has to be on there. Yep, absolutely, I agree.
Okay, any other business before I ask for one more motion? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got my bad. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 3 minutes early. Wow.
Yeah. And our
Great job.
next meeting date is.
That is a good question. When is our next meeting date?